Yes, guys, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur, and we are going to be bringing you our top 5 moments, iconic moments, big goals, big fixtures of the North London Derby. The North London Derby is the best fixture in football and always provides drama and magical moments. Given that the North London Derby is on this week, we will be giving you our top 5 North London Derby favorite iconic moments. So how this works is that every week we'll be picking a topic, we'll be given our 5, and we will try to come up with a list between us. And how you guys are watching, you can get involved by putting your top 5 in the comments down below and your suggestions of topics you guys want us to cover. I'll go to Ben first on this one. A very iconic one, probably one that's going to definitely be on the list that we're going to have to make together, is that 5-1 semifinal win under Juan de Ramos in January 2008. Carling Cup semifinal. It was the second leg after a 1-1 draw before. Ledley King was the captain. The lane was bouncing. Were you at that game by chance, Ben?
Yeah, I think I was probably at every game on everyone's list today, and I think that one was so special. It really was, because we hadn't beaten Arsenal in such a long time. We had lost to them in the semi-final the previous year after taking the lead as well. And at half time in that game, I remember I met up with my friend for a pint at half time, and I met him for a pint at the exact same moment in the previous semi-final the year before. And I remember us at that time in that semi-final, we were both like, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to beat Arsenal finally. And we just threw it away completely in that second half. And then in this game, we meet up at half time. We're both just like, oh, I don't know if we're going to do it. Are we going to hang on? And we were like being so negative about it. And then obviously whatever happened in the second half happened at White Hart Lane that day. And we absolutely tore them to shreds. The away end emptied out with about 20 minutes, 15 minutes to go. And the lane was just rocking. I've got pictures from that night. And it was like on a really old, crappy phone when the picture quality wasn't that good. But I've got some proper iconic pictures. And you could just see I was sitting in the Park Lane lower in the old White Hart Lane, and the stadium was literally shaking that night. And you saw what did they use? Crutches were waving high in the air, flags everywhere. I mean, it was just an iconic day.
Can I ask a follow-up here, Ben? If, let's say, we didn't end up, going through, past Chelsea in the final, would it still be up there as probably one of the best nights, maybe for you as a Spurs fan, even if we didn't end up winning the final?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not as high because we actually did win the cup final, but you just look back at that Lucas Moura moment, it still means a lot, even though we lost the final.
Very good point.
So I think beating Arsenal 5-1, even if it's a bloody friendly, pre-season friendly, I'll take it and I'll hold that with pride. So look, regardless of winning that final, I think it still meant a lot, but it meant even more because we went on to win the trophy. It's like one of those games as well where you just watch the game, the highlights so much. Yeah. You just memorize that kind of the commentary, the Spurs commentary of the night. It's like, and he lays another one off the Steed Malbranc, and I think it goes like, glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur, Spurs are on their way to Wembley. It's just so iconic.
Next one that we have to go through, and I'm actually surprised that this is missing from certain people's list. And of course, this was going to be in Ben's list if this was a 6th one, and maybe he would have put it higher up there if he were given the chance, if I wasn't so mean. But the top 4 win under Antonio Conte, the 3-0 at home. Gary Neville famously uttered the words that the Arsenal players were brutalized by the Spurs fans at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in that North London derby. I don't really know why this isn't higher up the list for a lot of you guys. I feel like this was probably the biggest sort of, how would you put it, with the most to play for type of North London derby in a long time for me, where yes, pride is always on the line, the bragging rights are always on the line, but this actually felt like, a game between two teams. If they didn't even have a sort of rivalry, it did sort of mean that, the sort of the decider for top 4 in sort of a way, to kind of feel like a cup final to a degree. And also as well, I've never seen a team get so rattled and sort of get so unfolded after a game, right? We saw Arteta completely lose his head. We saw all of Arsenal completely, bottle top 4 afterwards. It was just a brilliant sort of scenes. It was kind of like a win that we could just keep on celebrating for months and months on end. Had an Emerson Royale moment with a flair, which I think is definitely a cherry on top. And also I think it had one of the best sort of I think what was it? The manager fan cams that we used to have with Antonio Conte. I remember that one was iconic because he had that sort of 2-0, I think, with the Harry Kane sort of header from the set piece. He had that sort of mean mugging stare down Antonio Conte into the camera. And I just sort of remember that as being probably one of the more high stakes North London derbies I could ever recall. And it obviously went swimmingly for us. And it was brilliant to have a red card, to make it even more sort of kind of torturous for Arsenal. I'm not sure why this isn't higher up your guys' list, but maybe I'll go to Ben, who wanted to put this in his list in the first place, but I didn't let him.
That was like the first game, I think, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where it really felt like home. The first time Arsenal had come, because I think the previous time was in COVID or there was no fans and stuff like that. So it was the first time where it actually felt like the old White Hart Lane, and the intense atmosphere was there from start to finish. The fans were lining the streets with flares and songs and bringing a really intense atmosphere before the game, which we had never seen since this new stadium had been built.
So it sounds like for you, it maybe makes the list more for sort of the atmosphere and for sort of the actual occasion than it even is for the performance kind of itself, right? It's not like one of those performances where you just saw the team completely. Maybe we've seen better performances in North London derbies, but it was one of the better atmospheres, you would say, in general.
Yeah, but it's also what the result meant on the day. Like, Arsenal fans were like in full voice the whole season going, Arteta's going to take us to the Champions League. The whole season, that's all we had to hear pretty much every time we watched Arsenal play. The Arsenal fans were mugging us off all the way through the season, saying, you play crap football, you do this, you do that. And then to beat them on that day, to finish above them once again, I think that was like the fifth or sixth year in a row or something like that. It was just everything just came together that day, and it was all beautiful.
And for you, Sim, is there a reason maybe why this is missing from your list?
I would say yes. I would say for a couple of reasons. Look, I think when it comes to like atmosphere and the Spurs fans really turning up and it really feel like a North London derby on the day, I think this might be near the top of the list for on the day, because it was an amazing occasion. First North London derby in front of a packed house, and it was really special. And there was so much riding on it. It was very similar to like the Tottenham Man City playoff from back in 2010, but with Tottenham and Arsenal. So a lot riding on it. And the game was over in 20 minutes, really, wasn't it? We were 2-0 up. Well, we're 1-0 up. They had a man sent off, and then I think just before half time, we made it 2-0. So in the first half, the game was done. As a spectacle, I have to say that second half wasn't the greatest game, unfortunately. We just kind of got the third goal, and we're kind of just passing it around. A part of me is still annoyed that we didn't like just absolutely take them to the cleaners and just like get 5, 6, 7. Because
if Andrew was our manager, we would have done.
Yeah, that's what we would have done. So, I guess the only other reason why I still have I'm not disappointment surrounding this game, but I didn't put it in my top 5. It's because at the end of the day, Arsenal did kick on after that moment and we didn't. And for all the talk of like we were playing rubbish football and they were really coming up, and as much as that game was supposed to disprove that, it didn't really do it. And at the end of the season, we did end up playing crap football the next season. They did end up going for a title challenge, whereas we hoped it would be the other way around the following season. Right. That was a big shame. I feel like all my other moments that I have, we actually pushed on from those moments and like it actually meant more for the future. Whereas this moment was brilliant in time and one of my favorite days as a Tottenham fan, as in that specific day. But it just, I felt like I look back at it now and it's a bit hollow because it wasn't like a trophy. It was top 4. So it wasn't as good as a trophy.
Let's move on to the selection made from Sim here. It was the last win at White Hart Lane on April 30th in 2017. Tottenham beat Arsenal 2-0 in the final North London derby at White Hart Lane. This result guaranteed Spurs finishing above Arsenal in the league for the first time in 22 seasons. Sim, you have this third on your list. What makes this so special?
Yeah, I think, look, because we had been through so many years where we had a big lead over Arsenal in the league, and late in the season we completely bottled it. We had it the season before where we were in a title race with Leicester, and Arsenal were nowhere to be seen. I think with 3 games to go, I think we were 7 points above Arsenal with 3 games to go. We ended up bottling it somehow. We lost the last 3 games and we ended up finishing 3rd. So we had so many chances to really stamp ourselves as being a team that could potentially be better than Arsenal and like try and regain some power in the North London. And we kept bottling it time after time. And we knew we were on for something good for Pochettino. But I think that day really just cemented that we are now better than Arsenal. We are now the best team in North London at that time. And beating them to cement that as well. And we absolutely won it at Cantor. We were the best team by far on that day. Arsenal barely had a kick. We battered them. Dele Alli and Harry Kane scoring the penalty as well. It was just such a beautiful day. And the fact that it was our last at the North London derby at White Hart Lane, and to win that, to finish above Arsenal mathematically as well, was a beautiful moment for me. And I think it was very iconic.
Let's go on to the 3-2 win at the Emirates in 2010. Dave, I'm going to ask you about this one. Spurs won away to Arsenal in the first time in 17 years as Harry Redknapp's side fought back from a 2-0 down position at halftime to win 3-2 with a Kabul winner. Why is this one on the list?
Special, Jack. First time in 17 years, you know. At that point in 2010, I would have only been about, 18, 19. So, you know, I wouldn't have seen Tottenham win at Arsenal. So for me, it was absolutely a huge moment in my life. But it was the manner of it, Jack, right? Arsenal were 2-0 up. They were absolutely cruising at half-time. And then Gareth Bale done what Gareth Bale usually do. And look, not only have Arsenal been on the rat of that, Inter Milan, West Ham fans, they know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Gareth Bale got going. And he took the game to Arsenal. And then Van der Vaart, of course, with the penalty and the free kick that led to Kabul rising above Laurent Koscielny, putting the ball in the back of the net. And we got out there with the 3-2 win. But also sort of, you know, signifies, you know, the Harry Redknapp era, right? You know, never say die attitude, the fight, the spirit within the team. You always knew there was always a comeback within that team. And, you know, it was just one of them special moments. And it just meant, you know, my Arsenal, the friends of mine that are Arsenal fans, you know, I could abuse them for about 6 months. So it was absolutely unreal day for me, Jacko. A great day.
Yeah. Let's go through some of the best all-time North London derby goals. Dave, I'm going to ask you first about David Bentley's. According to you, you basically trashed the place when you saw that goal go in. Take me through it. Why is this in the list?
Yeah, I mean, look, we came back twice in that game. I think we were, 3-1 down and 4-2 down, ended up coming back 4-4. When it comes to the David Bentley goal, I mean, it was just the sheer audacity of it. Like, even the Arsenal goalkeeper wasn't expecting it, and that's why he got caught out. But it was the sort of, it was the pure class and the skill involved. Jermaine Jean's chest down, David Bentley then, you know, the sort of, the flick up to sort of, you know, set it up, and then the audacity to go for it, and then it goes in that match, in that manner, in that fashion. I could not believe it. It was one of the best goals I've ever witnessed watching a game. It was just the sheer audacity for him to take it, but it was the class involved in it too. But David Bentley had that in his locker. David Bentley had wonder goals in his locker like that, and also that guy came through at Arsenal, through the academy, so it was a special moment for him. So again, you know, one of Arsenal's players that they produced scoring against them in that manner. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. The whole game was absolutely quality as well, but that goal is one that stands out. I just could not believe it. The audacity to go from it from that range.
It's in your list too there, Ben, but is it because of the performance or is it because of the goal?
It's because of the ending of the game, really. I mean, to score 2 goals that late on when half the Spurs fans had already left. I mean, it was just something dreams are made of. I mean, maybe not to get a draw, but to get a draw being 2 goals down going into the last few minutes, it's just insane. It really is. Arsenal fans were pretty much, you know, some were leaving to hit the traffic early so they can go and beat the traffic, and thinking they'd won. They got 3 points. And it was right at the beginning of that Redknapp era as well, which really thought, you know, we can do something here, and maybe we are going in the right direction. And I'll tell you the truth, I was one of those fans that walked out in disgust with in the early stages. And as I was walking out, I think Spurs had scored to make it 4-3. And I quickly turned around and ran past the steward and got myself back into that stadium. And I was one of those lucky few that actually saw Aaron Lennon score in the last minute at the Emirates. And yeah, it was unbelievable, literally unbelievable. I mean, there's a few celebrations that are comparable, but that's definitely up there with one of the most craziest celebrations I've witnessed.
Wow. The goal, actually, Sim, I sort of look back at it. I feel like, could the keeper have done a bit better? Is Dave, you know, maybe exaggerating how good of a goal this was, or was it really that, crazy?
He gets a big hand to it, but I think it's a special strike from David Bentley. The way he takes
terrible in that was it Almunia.
Yeah, the way he takes it on the volley though was a brilliant strike. And he said it before. I remember he said after the game that he'd been looking at clips of Almunia and how he stands far off his line, and he's thinking of trying something in this game, and that he did, and it came off. It was a great strike. Yeah, Almunia definitely be looking looking back at that, thinking I should have saved it. But still, you can't take much away from the strike from Bentley because it was a brilliant effort. And Jermaine Genius got an absolute cracker as well later on in that game.
And let's go through another goal. Kane's, of course, iconic mask celebration. We ended up drawing the game 2-2, but is this the most iconic goal ever in the North London derby, Ben?
Ooh, no. I would say the most iconic goal in the North London derby is Gazza's free kick in the FA Cup semi-final in 91.
Good answer.
I think that is the most iconic North London derby goal for Spurs anyway. But I think, like, for this, it wasn't the whole game, because obviously we didn't win the game, and that was a really hard one to take because we should have won that game. We battered them that day. I think they went down to 10 men as well. And we should have got those 3 points, and that 3 points would have meant so much. We would have gone top of the league that day. But for those 16 minutes from when Harry Kane scored to when Arsenal scored was probably one of the best 16 minutes of my life. Seriously, we were top of the league for beating Arsenal, and the lane was absolutely, you couldn't hear. I probably couldn't hear the person next to me. That's how loud it was. And when Harry Kane scored that goal, the whole stadium literally shook. Like, literally, it shook.
Wow.
That's how mad the celebrations were.
And for you, Sim, do you feel like this is maybe one of the more iconic goals, in the North London derby, one of the best ever?
Again, another one that misses out on my list because of how things ended in that game. I think watching that moment, like how he grabs his mask and throws it, and the goal he scored was a special goal, and it was like one of the best. I think that is probably the best goal I've ever seen in North London derby. Just the angle of how we got that in, like what a strike that is, and to do that on that kind of stage was really, really special. And to go top of the league was so special. But Spurs bottled it. We bottled it because we were 2-1 up. They were down to 10 men, and we allowed them back in the game. And Lloris makes a bit of an error. They go to 2-2. And in fact, if anyone was looking like they were going to win it at the end of the game, it was actually Arsenal at that game. And that was like a big moment in the season. If we would have won that game, who knows what would have happened. But I think our inexperienced and our mentality showed at the end of the day. And that, again, has a bit of a twinge of sadness and a twinge of regret looking back at that moment, because as much as I love that goal, and I just wish that goal meant a win, I just know for a fact that it didn't lead to a win in that game. And even if it just led to a draw and it was like a normal game, and if it was 11v11, I might have put it higher. But the fact that Arsenal were down to 10 men and we were on top of them and we were battering them and we were 2-1 up and we still couldn't get the win. And then at the end of that season as well, we ended up finishing below them. Just showed our Spursy mentality rising again, unfortunately. That was more of a symptom of Spursiness than iconicness. I look back at that.
But that 16-minute period, Sim.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was the best. It was the best I've ever felt.
Is it the best celebration ever, Dave? Is it the best celebration ever?
I mean, it's got to be. Look at the passion in his face, Jack. I mean, you can't buy that. That's something you've got to bottle up, my man. Throwing the goggles away as well. I mean, it's over 18 material, honestly. The angle of it, the way he, the Delhi back heel, then the Kane, the angle of it, it's in more of a crossing position than it is a shooting position. You give that ball to any other player in the world, they're crossing that. And Harry Kane has the audacity just to unleash one. And as soon as he hit it, you just knew. You knew it was going in, and you just knew it was one of them special moments. And look, at the time it did put Tottenham top of the league. Unfortunately, like Sim had to bring it all crashing back down. Their memories. Thanks for that, Sim.
Sorry.
It didn't lead to where we thought it would. But for me, outside maybe Gazza's free kick, which I'm surprised Ben doesn't have in, by the way. I
wasn't there.
Fair enough. We're going to get stated for that in the comments as well, by the way, so I expect that. But, for me, I think it's one of the best North London derby goals I've ever scored, not just from a Tottenham point of view. Even if you throw in Arsenal's ones in on top of it, I don't think you'll see a better one. It was the angle for me. It was absolutely unbelievable, followed by the celebration. It was madness, chaos.
This is definitely one that we still have to discuss. It's Danny Rose's screamer on his debut. We won 2-1. And I feel like this is, one that you kind of have to compare to the rest of these, because there are only so many goals that we can even put in our list in the first place, guys. So how does Danny Rose's screamer sort of rank for you in terms of North London derby goals? Is it even in the top 3? I would go to you, Ben, first.
I would say in terms of quality, I wouldn't say so, because I do think the keeper I don't know what the keeper was doing there, to be honest. But in terms of, I would say that it is like an iconic North London derby goal. I'd put that up there maybe not as high as the Harry Kane one and the Gaza one, but I think it's definitely in the top 5 for me. Like iconic Tottenham goals, North London derby goals in the past like 20, 30 years. I think it's up there. And obviously because we hadn't beaten Arsenal in the league for so many years before then, it was the first time. Obviously we had the 5-1 against that we spoke about earlier, but this in the league, we hadn't done it in so long. And everyone was questioning, who's this Danny Rose playing left wing? Like, who is this guy? And he scores that goal about 5-10 minutes in. And he plays so poor, he gets hauled off at half time. But it was just an unbelievable day because of we hadn't beaten them in so long. The atmosphere was just absolutely insane. So, yeah, it's got to go up there as one of the best North London derby moments for me.
I think he scored it, and within 2 minutes of the game, I was sitting right behind that goal as well, in the Park Lane, and what a moment that was! So special. And yes, what is Almunia doing? He punches the corner. To be fair, I don't think it's a bad punch. The only problem is he slips after he punches, which allows, if Rose gets that on target, it's a goal. But to get that on target on the volley from 30 yards is not easy. First time is not easy whatsoever. So I think it's a real quality goal. I think it's a real special finish from Danny Rose. And what a cracking start to that North London derby.
Time to put a list together, boys. Let's start with number 1. I'm going to make a bold claim that the 5-1 semifinal win to go on to actually win the cup is probably up there at number 1. Would anybody disagree?
Has to be number 1. It was the catalyst. If we didn't win that...
The only problem is it was against kids. That's the only problem I have with it.
Doesn't matter. You trashed them 5-1 semi-final, sent you on to a final, and you end up going on and beating Chelsea. And if we didn't beat them in that manner, we might not have dug deep against Chelsea when we needed to get over the line. That has to go number 1 for me.
Seems like we're getting a lot of agreement there, unless anybody...
I'm just unsure.
There's so many moments.
Maybe the 3-2 might have to go in number 1. If you're going to go for which one was the better away win, it's the 3-2, 100%. No questions about it.
But does that go above a 5-1 win to go on and win a cup final?
Yeah. I don't know. It's such a hard decision to make.
We'll go with the 3-2 number 1. I'm definitely making sure the 5-1 gets in there for sure.
The 5-1 gets in there. The 5-1 gets in there.
100%.
I think Danny Rose gets in there as well. I think that was just such a special moment.
How high does that go then? Does that go at number 3? It seems like the 3-2 away win seems to be at number 1, and then we also have the 5-1 win at home to be number 2. But would you put the Danny Rose goal as high as number 3, or do you feel like
I think I put the Danny Rose ahead of the 4-4, and I think I put it ahead of the Kane moment, Kane's goal against in the 2-2. I think I put it ahead of that. Okay, yeah, I think I put it ahead of where's my one? Here it is. I think I put it ahead of Kane's debut as well. Yeah, I think for me, Rose goes in 3rd.
I agree.
Okay, wow. I'll go with that.
So let's go on to maybe number 4 then. What could take the 4th spot? We have maybe the goggle celebration, Harry Kane throwing off the mask. I mean, does that go as high as 4? Dave, you seem to think so.
It has to be. It's iconic. Everyone knows about it. You speak to anybody about, Harry Kane's best North London derby goal, that's the one they'll speak about 9 times out of 10, unless you're seeing who wants to speak about his debut double. So for me, that goal has to go in there. It's the most iconic. Has to be on the list.
The only reason I would say no is because of the actual game itself and how it ended, because it was really poor the way it ended.
You take the Kane goal in isolation. Even not just because of the quality of the goal, but also the moment going top of the league and throwing the mask off. It was an iconic moment. But so if you're taking away the context, that probably goes in the list. But
if you want to take just that 16-minute period in time, then it 100% gets in there.
But it's just so Spursy. We were celebrating 16 minutes. It just, you know what I mean? I can't stand how Spursy that is.
So what do you want to put in at number 4 then? What do you want to put in at number 4?
I was going to ask. Can I make a call, guys, for maybe the 3-0 win under Antonio Conte to go as high as number 4 to knock out?
I would say the last North London derby at White Hart Lane.
Oh.
Ben?
And that's because both of you guys had such a special experience there. That is true. Ben, would you
put
that as high as number 4?
For the first time since 95.
Mm-hmm. That was the thing that was in Sim's list. That was in nobody else's. Was that experience?
But Arsenal did Arsenal get Champions League that year?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all the context you're adding. I love all the context. And
I'm
I love
happy to go with last North London derby at the Lane, and then the first North London derby at the New Lane.
Okay. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. I'm not really happy to do it, but for the sake of for the sake of time and everything else, I'll.
What would you prefer, Dave?
Look, I genuinely believe Harry Kane's goal has to be in there. It's iconic, but look, I've been outvoted, so I'll go. With
Why not Lamella's goal then?
I just look a good goal, but it's not
Come
one
on,
that
It's not
stands out
Harry
in my
Kane.
memory.
It's not Harry Kane.
It's not Harry Kane.
Doesn't have
Lamella's
the
goal
hair.
is one of the best goals in Premier League history. That's how good it is.
Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing goal. Like it was in the grand context of things. It was a bit of a nothing goal, but it was a great finish. But look,
yeah, but so was Harry Kane's goal.
Yeah, but it's Harry Kane that done it. Harry Kane's great. Lamella done it sporadically. It's the fact that you only talk about the Lamella goal for his whole time being here, on that Chelsea stamp. That's all we ever talk about. When it comes to Harry Kane, you have a plethora of goals to pick from. And for me, it's just got to be in there. It's iconic. Everyone will always remember it.
Because Sim has that in his list very high up there. Harry Kane double in his first North London derby. But would you consider that to be better, Sim, than the actual Harry Kane mask goal? His performance in his first North London derby?
Probably, yeah. I think his performance was better. I don't think the goal was better, but I think
would that go on the list ahead of the mask celebration? Do you think?
I think that was probably a more important game for me and a more special game. I remember it more fondly, to be honest, than the 2-2. I love that goal, and I rewatched that goal a lot. But I don't know. I still, it just annoys me. It just annoys me that we never went on. We bottled that game. That still gets at me.
It looks like we have a fourth. Then we have the last win at White Hart Lane, of course, in the North London derby. And then what are we going to have? Maybe taking the fifth? Are we going to allow maybe the 3-0 win? Under Antonio Conte?
Yeah.
Or would we rather something else?
Yeah, I think that.
First North London derby at the new stadium with fans.
Yeah, it was a good demonstration of when everyone's together, what we can do. And we absolutely, it wasn't just the team on the pitch, it was the fans, it was Antonio Conte had brutalized Arteta in the press conference beforehand. We just brutalized them that whole day. So it has to go on that list. So yeah, I think we'll stick that at 5.
I think then if I'm going to summarize, we have at number 1, I believe it was 3-2 away win at the Emirates. Number 2, we have the 5-1 win in the semifinal. I believe at number 3, we had Danny Rose's Screamer. At number 4, we had our last win at White Hart Lane. And then at number 5, Antonio Conte's 3-0 win at the new stadium. Let us know, everybody, down below what your sort of 5 would be and whether there's anything we're missing or something we might have gave, maybe too much praise to, or something that we probably should have given it maybe a bit more attention to. But thanks, Ben and Sim, for joining us for this one. Any regrets after this, or do you guys feel like, we got to really hash it out?
No, I think I'm happy with the list and how it's been finalized. I mean, look, that Harry Kane goal with the mask is a very iconic moment. And that for those 16 minutes, if you could just take that period in isolation, it might even be top. But unfortunately, what happened, and you have to take that into account. But I think I'm happy with the list.
For me, I think it's that Kane goal was such an iconic moment, and the fact that we can find 5 more, even more iconic, just shows how many iconic moments there have been in North London derbies. So I'm happy with the list. I look at that list, and I love every single one of those moments. So I'm happy with it.
I'm glad that we were able to get a good list together, and we're looking forward to some new ones under Ange Postecoglou, Dave.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% happy with the list. I would like to squeeze Kane in there, but I'll let it go. But look, North London Derby week, Jack. Hopefully, everyone shares their favourite North London Derby memories in underneath as well. And, let's get the win this weekend. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.
In the big hands we trust, we never stop.